Welcome everyone to Voice of Terminus Tavern Talk today with my co-host Lex. Hello Lex.
Hello, people.
Kodiak is MIA. We don't know where the hell he is. If you see him anywhere, and give him a tap on the shoulder and let him know that Tavern Talk is actually live right
Tell him,
now and he's
you can
missing.
tell him, yeah, you can tell him to leave his harem of halflings alone
Yeah.
for a half hour. Join
So,
us.
what is today's topic? So we have obviously the Pantheon VR news. Then we're going to talk about the January's newsletter covering the top 10 moments of 2016 from the perspectives of VR. And we're going to talk about Amber Fate. They gave a bit more information about Amber Fate, which is definitely of a lot of interest. And then our forum hot topic is related to a tweet put out by VR. Favorite ways to acquire spell abilities, or spells and abilities. And then we're going to show off some of the latest screenshots. And then, last but not least, other news is going to be the closing point of the show today. So let's go and kick it off with VR and Pantheon news. Lex?
Well, our first tweet was on January 12th. How do you feel about push notifications? Would you want some sort of external means of learning about in-game events or server statuses? What do you think?
I actually tweeted back to them saying that I would very much like to see something like this happen, where I can see that the server's going down or there's some event going to start, etc. Um, Even while I'm away at work or whatnot, it still would be nice to be up to date and know what the hell's going on within the game, or if there's anything planned. So yeah, I'm definitely in favour for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're at a point in the evolution of just video games in general where a companion app is not only beneficial, but it's almost expected. I mean, think about like if you can maybe browse the auction house from your phone, you're on your way home, you know you're going to do some crafting, buy some stuff, it's waiting for you. Not saying it'll happen, but it'd be really cool. But it'd also be nice to get little alerts because if you're playing, your phone, vibrates, or maybe your tablet blings, and you go, hey, over in Wild's End, there's an event going on. You might want to check it out. Well, guess where I'm headed? Wild's End.
I mean, another thing as well with the push notifications, if they could basically expand on that you could actually access your guild chat, for
hmm
instance, from outside of the game to let people know that you're going to be late or that you're not going to end up,
Yes.
showing up today, is another thing that I think a lot of people would support as well. Being able to contact your guild, whether you're in game or not, or contact your raid force, etc., or even send maybe a private message or something like that. I think in today's day and age, with the technology out there, I think that would be something really cool to have as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, you don't have to go into real time chat, although, let's face it, the chat in MMOs are basically just glorified chat rooms back from that, hail from the olden days. But even if they just say, hey, you can access the mail system, hey, great. I'm not going to make this raid. I can email the raid leader and
Yep.
say, hey, don't wait up. I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm sorry. And that way they're not sitting around for a half hour waiting for me when they could have someone in to replace me in like 5 minutes.
Hmm. Exactly. It helps, plan ahead, especially when you're dealing with raids. Um, it is annoying when you have to wait for the 23rd, 24th, 25th man or whatnot, and week in, week out, 2 minutes before they cancel on you because something's come up, and you got the other 23, 24 people sitting there waiting to get in. They've been there for 15, 20 minutes already, gathering up. So it would help the raid leaders. It would help you as a player that's going to be late to
hmm
communicate. And like Going Ham Bacon says, to be honest, communication is key,
Right.
and he's
And this
absolutely
is the
right.
age of communication. This is absolutely the age of communication. There are hundreds of ways to get a message to somebody. There's email, there's chat, there's IMing, there's Skype, all this other crazy stuff,
I mean, if you look at some of the other games that use the Twitter function, where you can put out a screenshot and you can write a little Twitter message, I'm sure you could backwards engineer that you can do exactly the same from Twitter into that game. via a
Yep.
hashtag or something. So you can, it doesn't necessarily have to be a major text that you can put in there, but at least similar to Twitter, where you can type out a tweet saying, "Hey, I'm not going to make it," because let's face it, most people have Twitter on their iPhones and smartphones, etc. Have access to Twitter at work, etc. So it would be an easier way, and I'm sure it can be programmed that you can,
Oh yeah.
through the Twitter, send out a tweet or something like that. So let's get on with the next news, which is part of our community coverage in the forums today. Pantheon tweeted on January 16th, "What is your favourite way to acquire spells and abilities? Is it via a trainer, crafted, or some other way?" And that's the reason why we picked this topic today, is because of the fact there's some other way. But we'll get into that when we get into that section of the show. So we're going to move on now to January's newsletter and talk a bit about Pantheon VR's top 10 moments.
Alrighty. Gotta scroll all the way up because I was reading it. So, the Pantheon top 10 moments of 2016. January is traditionally a time of resolutions, reflections, and remembrance. A time to look back at the high points of the prior year, and a time to set goals for the year to come. Here at Visionary Realms, 2016 was a banner year that was filled with incredible progress on Pantheon, exceptional growth in our community, and several new exciting additions to our team. 2016 saw us attain new levels of stability and reaffirmation to us that transparency and honesty are the core of maintaining the type of community that this game is designed for. Our community was both the pillar of our stability and the catalyst of our growth, and for that we are eternally grateful to you. Join us now as we look back at our top 10 moments of 2016. Number 10, updated pledge tiers. In a perfect world, developers would have unlimited amounts of money and complete artistic control over their projects. But with budgets that can eclipse those of a feature film and publishers with shareholders to appease, that's simply no longer a possibility. While crowdfunding a game might be the most stressful way to get a game made, it is also one that allows the team the best ability to stay true to the core vision without outside influences. In September, we made changes to our pledge tiers to streamline and simplify, and in the process create a new lower price point pledge to give any more fans the ability to contribute. Number 9, reveals. We started the year strong with our cleric reveal and kept up the pace and kept our fans happy and our team busy. Also featured this year were the introductions of our rogue and shaman classes and showing off their initial models in the gnome, initial models of the gnome, human, ogre, and archai races. We enjoyed showing off the fruits of our labor and look forward to revealing even more in 2017. GDC is number 8. In March, we sent Brad and the team to San Francisco to speak with the Premier Developers Conference, GDC 2016. We invited teams from various media outlets as well as potential investors to see the game in person, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. We are still continuing to benefit from the feedback and relationships made at GDC 2016.
Let's carry on with number 7, developer access. Here at Visionary Realms, we know how important community is, and we made a concentrated effort to hear and respond to our supporters in 2016. From newsletter interviews to weekly conversations in our VIP forums, we kept looking for better ways to hear from you. You can even find our team members on Discord, Twitch, and answering questions on Fansite podcasts. And in 2017, we aim to do even better. Taking your feedback from the past year, we are taking aim at even more regular updates, VIP roundtables, Q&As, and more. Number 6, expanded media coverage. We saw a much greater presence in the mainstream gaming media, thanks in large part to the unbridled enthusiasm of our fans. With features on sites such as MMORPG.com, Game Informer, and Massively Overpowered, Visionary Realms has started to get that type of exposure a title like Pantheon needs to succeed. Number 5 is Unite 2016. In November, our team travelled to Los Angeles for Unite 2016. The Unity Conference for developers, artists, users and fans. Brad and Corey gave a presentation of our current client and spoke about how the Unity engine has enabled our small team to have a big impact in creating a vibrant living world. And here's a quote from, or a statement from Corey. It was such a great period of time. The whole team really came together in the weeks leading up to the presentation to pitch in and make the best showing we could for the big stage. Unity was really great to us as well, as we were the first non-Unity team to take the stage. Getting to be there in person with Brad to meet other developers and see what they've been working on with the same engine was also really awesome and eye-opening. Corey Lefevre, Senior Game Designer.
Number 4, Here We Grow Again. My fondest memories of 2016 was joining VR January of 2016 and having the honor to work with the team of devoted, passionate, and incredibly talented people. And that's a quote from Lynn Ashworth, the project manager. 2016 saw several key additions to our team as we moved closer to our ideal size of around 40 people. In January, we added a new producer in Lynn Ashworth. In May, we welcomed world builder Brendan Rogers, while October saw senior programmer Todd Curtis and systems engineer Pierre Cadeau. Sorry, I probably slaughtered it. My bad. I apologize, Pierre. Forgive me, please. In 2016, we also saw systems engineer Kurt Habitler, senior programmer Robert Crane, and game designer Ken Williamson join the team. While there are still several more additions to be made to the team, we are steadily moving towards the final numbers needed to see Pantheon to its completion. Number 3, the AMA, or Ask Me Anything. In August, we unleashed Brad upon the unsuspecting Reddit and came away with a fantastic AMA that exceeded our expectations. The furious pace of our live AMA can be overwhelming and can leave many fans feeling flat as their questions zoom by unanswered. But Brad not only handled a remarkable amount of questions in real time, but went back later and combed through the missed queries and did his best to answer those as well. We're not quite sure how Brad's hands handled all the typing in such a short time span, but we could hear him laughing from his office for days afterwards, saying, "See? I told you I could answer them all."
Yeah, and that was insane. That was definitely intense. The
That
amount
was
of
a
questions
lot.
flying in and the response time from him was outstanding.
Yep. I'm sure a lot of the people out there were there. I was there. It was simply just remarkable. I don't even know if I could do it. Number 2, December and June Twitch streams. While many of our fans might be shocked to see the December stream not taking home the top spot in our list, rest assured that we have good reason for our choice for number 1. Both the June and December Twitch live streams garnered a lot of praise from both fans and critics alike, with the difference between the two showing just how hard the team had pushed and how quickly progress was being made. The inclusion of Carnage in our final stream of the year helped introduce a lot of new gamers to Pantheon, and the overwhelming response from those seeing it for the first time was very positive. One of our newest senior programmers, Ted Curtis, had this to say about the December stream. My fondest moment, by far, was watching the game in action during the December Twitch stream. Seeing how much the game had changed in a short period of time to a fun, playable state was extremely rewarding. It certainly inspires me, personally, to continue the momentum into the new year.
Awesome. So, our number 1 is March Twitch stream. Our team put a lot of preparation into our presentation for the folks at GDC, and with so many members of our team assembled in one location, the decision to set up a live Twitch stream to show off our hard work made a lot of sense. It's always risky for an indie game developer to show off their wares in a non-finished state, but that's exactly what we did with our pre-alpha client. And with the greater risk came even greater rewards. Director of Communications Benjamin de la Durante had this to say about the event, and he sums up what many of us felt perfectly. All of our Twitch streams have been a lot of fun, but I will always remember the first one we did in March. When you're making a game, it's easy to become inwardly focused, head down, concentrating on the work. When this happens, it can become difficult to be objective. You're so close to the project and you think you're doing well, but there's always that nagging voice in the back of your head. Will other people like this? Is this the right move for this component? Do we need a little more of that? Soon that nagging voice can start to get you concerned. What if they hate it? What if we've been wrong this whole time? And then our first Twitch stream. We were all very nervous. I can't tell you how much. We knew we liked what we had made, but we were just too close to the project and unable to see things objectively. Well, let me tell you. When the stream went live and the Twitch channel erupted in cheers, many of us were in tears. This was the first time we had been able to show the game in any great detail to an external audience, so anything could have happened. Our nightmares were quickly squashed as the community was overwhelmingly supportive. It's an amazing feeling to have that kind of spirit and excitement backing you up. Nothing can compare to how the fans made us feel on the day the world first saw real Pantheon gameplay. Lead world builder John Diasparra added his thoughts as well. We had all been working with our heads down for a while, and it was really exciting and nerve-wracking to finally put what we had been so focused on for all those months leading up to it. The testing sessions with the team are always a blast, and I am always reminded of how funny and enjoyable all the folks I work with are. Finally putting the stream live and getting into the game, playing, seeing everyone's reactions is just too much for words. It was a truly impactful and cherished memory for me. Without the outpouring of the community support, this is now the final segment, that we received from the March Twitch stream, there likely wouldn't have been additional streams in June and December, which is why it captures the top spot in our list. You, our community, were the reason that 2016 was such an incredible year for us at Visionary Realms, and we can't wait to see what 2017 brings. So there's a bit of insight into VR's top 10 list of 2016, the most memorable moments, and definitely interesting and spot on. Couldn't agree more.
It's actually a very, very rare occurrence for a developer or even a group of developers to actually tell you this much information of how they're feeling, and that the first stream they were all extremely nervous, and they're absolutely right. And the same goes with a lot of projects. I could program something, a very large project, and I'll think it's the greatest thing in the world, but because I'm so close to it, I can't see its flaws. Some people could call that having rose-colored glasses. You only see the nice. But so when you finally get to your first reveal of it, or where someone outside, like for me, even showing my wife, who is also a very talented coder, it's very nerve-wracking, and it can affect you in a very negative way sometimes. But I'm very happy to see that everything worked out for the better.
Well, it's the same with us though as well with the show. It's exactly the same thing. We're focused on doing the show and everything. We might not see things that others do, and it is a nerve wrack every time we go live. Are people going to like the content we're bringing, etc., etc.? There's so many things that you think about, and you do.
How many times am I going to swear this time?
Yeah, like last week, Lex.
Oh.
Anyway, so let's go and move on to most probably the most interesting part. I can't wait to dig into this. Is a bit more information about that last zone they showed us, Amber Fate.
Yeah. I'm just going to warn you guys that I only got to read a little bit of this ahead of time, so I am probably going to start off strong, but then I'm going to struggle, and I apologize. Please bear with me. Amber Fate, a cave's mystery explored. Tell us about Amber Fate and how it fits into Terminus. Well, Amber Fate is the second kingdom of the dwarves. Yet unlike Kadrasa, Amber Fate was long pregnant with threats that it was sealed off for centuries by their king, Kazas. In its abyss dwells a force that predates the Decide War and even the dwarves' arrival on Terminus, reaching back to the founding of their Pantheon on the planet Odassa. It is governed primarily by the Forgotten, a neglected, hostile splinter of the dwarves who followed that ancient force in the wake of their coming to this world. Because it was sealed off for so long, it is underexplored and has remained hauntingly preserved from fortune seekers and nominal adventurers. If the capital city of Kadrasa is the sun to their people, then Amber Fate is a dark moon cast adrift by dueling gravities.
How hard is it to get to the toughest boss in the zone, and just how tough is he? To put it into terms native to Terminus, the boss was once sought out by none other than the ravaging Lord Itero, leader and progenitor of the Revenant. Yet, as the instigator of the deicide war was about to knock upon the door of this mystic power, he hesitated. After brief contemplation, Itero withdrew, turning his accompanying Revenant force around and marching back from whence he came. The great power that dwells behind the door was not seen then and hasn't been seen since. Even by the most fanatical followers, TLDR, the boss will not be easy.
What kind of secrets does Amber Fate hold for the diligent adventurer? Well, Jalpa already teased some of the crafting intrigues that lie within the belly of the Amber Fate beast, which, if you didn't catch the most recent stream, I strongly recommend you do so. Amber Fate will have utility in the form of a forge and master who can craft items of rare ability, due to the inherent temperature extremes found far below the frozen ground. In general, Amber Fate will feature a high threshold of risk and reward amidst some of the oldest and least turned over stones in the Dwarven heritage. Expect climate acclimation to figure significantly, as well as some of the most challenging aspects of group gameplay. Currently, designs are to make the aforementioned boss encounter uniquely authentic to that great mystery who dwells in the darkest corner of Amber Fate.
What level ranges is this zone designed for, and is it more group-centric or is it a raid zone? Amber Fate is definitely a group-centric zone. To put it simply, you could think of Amber Fate as divided into an upper and lower zone. What we showed in the most recent Twitch stream was a section of Upper Amber Fate. This is not a raid area, but a high-level group-centric area designed for players level 38 to 50. There is a long bridge in Upper Amber Fate that players must find and cross, which leads to the raid zone of the Lower Amber Fate.
What makes Amber Fate different from other dungeons one may see in other MMOs? Probably the most distinctive difference would be the non-linear vertical dungeon design. It is a sprawling, icy maze that goes up, up, up. The climbing skill will play a big role in the ascent and exploration of the area, and we think players will really enjoy getting off the rails in such an expansive and dangerous environment.
And the final question is, how many players can the zone support? Once finished, the zones should comfortably support 80 to 100 people. So there's a bit of in-depth information about Amber Fate and some of the background lore towards it and what we can expect, etc. So those were the two segments we picked out of the January newsletter we thought are worth talking today. So let's go move into the point of our community coverage on the forums, and this is actually dedicated to that tweet we had earlier on. What is your favourite way to acquire spells and abilities? Is it via trainer, crafted, or some other way? And this is where we would like you guys in chat to actually jump in and give us your thoughts as well, as we talk a bit about spells and abilities. So let me go and bring up the forum post and I'll link it in chat for you guys. There's the link to the forum post put up by Kilson. So this is actually asked by VR, and we thought it'd be interesting to talk a bit about this, especially with the some of the way, because we talk about spells and abilities and how it's done in MMOs since EverQuest 2. It seems to be somewhat almost the same. You can either get them via trainer, they auto update when you level up, you get your spells automatically put into your spell bar, or they're crafted spells. For the most part, the crafted spells are a higher version of the normal spell that you obtain, and then you have character trait abilities where you can choose the highest version of that spell, be it Grandmaster or Ancient, etc., etc. So let's go and talk a bit about this. And I think Lex had a good viewpoint on how to obtain spells. And we'll start with you, Lex. Talk a bit about what you think is, or what you would prefer to see.
Well, to the new people around here, I'm just going to let you know I'm a veteran of MMOs. I've been playing them ever since Muds. I've got probably almost, well, yeah, I think I've got 20 years of playing them now. So I've seen a lot of different things. What I've come to the conclusion that I would like to see, and I answered their tweet if you do follow them, it was, I like to see a mixture. You know, I like to see training, like getting them from trainers for your core abilities. That way everybody always has the core abilities. Like a warrior shouldn't have to go through anything specific for their taunt, otherwise they're useless, kind of thing. Or a cleric with a heal. You should always have that stuff. It should be easily available. I like drops or boss stealing for unique spells. Maybe not even necessarily utility, but it could just be fun spells. It could be maybe a spell that is very similar to what you already have, but with a unique twist to it. Despite popular opinion, I'm actually one for crafted spells. Spells, not skills. Because, you know, maybe there's a little bit of a quest you can do in there, and technically if you do a quest to get these components and then you put it together, to me that's crafting. So in that sense, crafting a spell is acceptable. I like the idea of, like, say, a warrior who has to learn physical skills. That would be more of a quest to actually go through the process of tracking down a master swordsman or a shield bearer in order to figure out how to do this specific ability. And that would go pretty much the same as with epic abilities.
Okay.
That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, because I see it kind of similar the same way. But I've broke this down into two segments. Obtaining the spell doesn't mean you can necessarily use the spell. The way I would like to see it happen is if you get it through a trainer, through crafting, etc. I would still like to see an addition towards getting the spell and using it. As an example, let's take easy example is the tank classes. That's physical damage that they'll be basically dealing out, etc., etc. So, shield bash. Once the tanks have obtained their shield bash or whatnot, in any form and fashion that they have, doesn't necessarily mean that they could use it. They've obtained the spell, but they have to go out and learn how to use it and become a master of that spell. And that's something I would like to see happen. When it comes to spells via mob drops, etc., I'd like to see something different there. We have all kinds of different mobs out there in the world. You have your mage mobs, you have your scout mobs, you have your tank mobs, your healing mobs. And these mobs should only drop for that class, or for those archetypes, the spells. So if I go out with my group and I start bashing down a bunch of mages, the only spells that they should drop are mage related. If I go out and I bash down warrior type bells, then only those should drop. I would also like to see a different variant. So if I'm whatever class I am, I have multiple ways of obtaining my spells, not just through my trainer, not just through crafting, not just through a mob drop. I like to see it basically be randomized. Certain spells you have to go to your trainer because he's going to teach you the deepest, utmost insight to that spell. Like a healer would have to go to a church or whatnot and talk to the high priestess there, etc., and constantly study and constantly go back. Quests as well, another great idea. For certain spells I like to see a quest, like for instance rezzing. I don't want to get my res spell from my trainer and that's it, done, I've got my res spell. No, I like to have an adventure happen, where I have to go out and I have to practice the rezzing. I have to meditate and sit down and really learn how to control my aura, etc., for me to be able to res. And once that's done, once I've achieved this, then I can go out and start rezzing people. So I like to see something different. happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can you imagine as a cleric? I mean, I'm not a healer, but I can just imagine helping them. That you actually have to do just a small quest. We'll say it takes, roughly 8 hours, including travel time. Okay, to do this quest. You go through it all, and it ranges anything from like solo meditation, like you just sit there and you meditate for 5 minutes, whatever, to go into this dungeon or whatever. And it can be for whatever reason. You don't even have to say it's to get this spell. And then have, at the end of it, like you take on a boss, one of your friends dies. And then all of a sudden, you get your ability to res, and you can res him. Your very first res. And it's kind of like it builds you up to a big climactic finish, and you're just like, I have my res!
Yeah, so, talking about this some other way, is there something off the back of your head, or even in chat, some other way to maybe obtain spells and abilities? Have you guys got any crazy thoughts out there in chat, or even you yourself, Lexa? Because as we know, you have mob drops, you have automatic updated spell book, you have it through the trainer, you have it crafted. Those are the 4 basic ways we all have got to know ever since EverQuest has been released, and up to the prior MMOs of today. It's always been the same. Is there some other way that it can be done off the back of your head?
Well, it's kind of like the whole, there's no more original content in the world. MMOs are kind of at that point, because everything's been done at least once in some form or fashion. And it's ending up to be a case of how can you change this to make it your own? I seriously think that VR needs to stay away from the auto updating, like, oh, you leveled, here's an ability, because that underplays your development. It's just, it's a hand me out or a handout. It doesn't feel important. Everybody's just like, blah, whatever. Whereas, like, you can't add an overabundance of questing to get stuff, because then you've got this enormous time sink, and there's got to see people who maybe they didn't find this quest, maybe they skipped this, maybe they got tired, didn't realize where it goes or what the reward is at the end, and they just abandon it. And that causes a problem of you potentially have higher level people without core abilities. It's like, what if a cleric has 2 heals, a small direct and a large heal over time? Well, what if they skip that quest or abandon it or just didn't finish it yet, and now they're 20 levels past it, and they don't have this big heal over time? That's potentially disastrous for that character. Whereas if it's a core ability, you learn it from a trainer, it's easily accessible. You can add a cost to get some money out of the economy, but everyone knows it's there. But you just got this sinking feeling that although I got stuff from a trainer, there's more to my character than that, and you just don't know it yet.
Well, this Orsenfeld has put it out. What I want to talk about a bit as well is I'd like to see if you could learn spells by watching enemies, bosses, friends, casting them through the perception system. Something similar is what I talked about in the forums on a different topic towards spells. Is you have your physical classes, your warrior, etc. They're basically all of the physical. So we all know, and I've played Final Fantasy to some point, be it the MMO or the single player games, and they always had the steal function. Now, or mimic. What about something like that for the physical aspect of the classes? Like, you go out with your group, you engage into an encounter, you've got a warrior mob standing there, you've got your warrior in the group. Now, that warrior basically simulates a spell of sorts, and that warrior can basically try and mimic it to obtain that spell.
Well, I mean, you could take a step towards realism and just say, like, if a person or a character sees this ability, which is we'll say it's a warrior ability from an orc, from high chief or something. If he sees cleave, and it's used on him or around him X number of times, he learns it basically, because it's a case of, if I see someone doing a roundhouse kick, I'm going to try to do it. I might not master it, but eventually if I keep at it, I will get it, kind of thing, because it's kind of how you're taught, which is kind of similar, but it takes a more passive role. It's just go on an adventure, you will get stuff even if you don't realize it. I know Guild Wars 1 had something early on, I don't know if they got rid of it because I quit rather early on, that I played an Elementalist Mesmer, and there was a spot where you could see an opponent or a boss casting a spell. And if you knew that spell was for your class, or one of your two classes, you could steal it. And then you had it forever. I think an example for the Elementalist was like Meteor Shower or something like that. And I thought that was really neat because all of a sudden, you know, I had something I never expected to get. It was in the middle of a fight. I had accidentally hit the button, you know, and all of a sudden, just like, oh my God, what just happened? And it's like, I want to do this again. And all of a sudden, I'm running all these instances over and over again just to see if there was something I missed.
Yeah.
You know?
That's another cool thing. Maybe that's possible. Salam brings in a point. What about buying or learning spells on the black market?
Well, if they make scrolls kind of like the old WoW scrolls, where it's kind of like a very weak version of the buff that you can click and just cast on yourself. I mean, I like that as a consumable idea. I can understand it as maybe a quest starter for a caster. It does make sense in some respects that, yes, you could just basically write it down. He reads it, learns how to do it. It all depends on how they want to take their universe. How VR wants to take the universe.
You could have, you know, the way I picture it on the black market is basically, it's. I could see spells like on the black market having a certain duration, so you can obtain spells that technically aren't for your class or are related to your class, but they're not something that is constantly with you. It might be with you for 1 day or for 10 days or whatever, and then it's gone basically, and you know it's gonna take some time before you can obtain it again. I can see something like that happen on the black market. Another thing that Carnage 466 says, and is from EverQuest 2's way of having tiers or ranks of the spell. So you have your, basically, you start off with your apprentice, you go into journeyman, then you have your adept spells, then you have your expert spells, you have your masters, your grandmasters, and your ancient spells, basically. And to bring it up as well, to link this with Zathras, spell crafting, I like that. Maybe you can craft spells. In most MMOs, certain crafters could create the higher versions of spells, and that's the only way you would technically get it. In EverQuest 2, for instance, the NPCs out in the world would drop Adept 1 spells, or you get a Master chest and it has a Master in it. Everything between Adept 1 and Master was crafted by your 3 designated crafters: your Sage, your Jeweler, your Alchemist. They would create your expert spells or grandmaster spells, what they've added now recently into it. So I think that's something that is generally going to be in. And to sell them, that was also a given. You could basically, if you collected the rares to create these expert spells, etc., you could sell them off on the broker for, you know, extensive amounts of cash. Research is also something that I do find I can relate to it. In EverQuest 2 it's similar. In EverQuest 1 you could research what Orsenfeld is telling us, like, and it had it
was kind of shoehorned into the system, not properly thought out, and it was a massive failure. Whereas EverQuest 2, it was much easier. It was like, pick which one you want to research, go. And then you wait just an exorbitant amount of time, you know, just crazy, like 72 hours or something like that. And
it actually went up to days, 30 days.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it got higher and higher and higher, which was fine.
I don't mind having 30 days to wait on, you know, a spell that I'm going to research that's going to be of the highest value. What kind of bugged me the most about that system in EverQuest 2 is if I have in average, each class had about 20-25 spells that you would use regardless. So for you to obtain all of those spells at the highest level after researching them would take you about 2 years. 30 days per spell, that's 12 spells a year. You're looking at 2 years roughly before you have it. But that means by that time, 2 expansions have gone through, the spells have been updated, they've added something. That's where it got kind of annoying, because didn't have the time or don't have the time to research all of them. And I know there's a lot of people out there that do want to have, you know, it's a personal hype, it's a personal feeling, it's your personal ego kicking in there, having
it's a feeling of completion.
Completion, exactly. You feel completed by learning every single one, but if they rush through having like an expansion every year, then you know you're not going to get completed.
Yeah. Granted, I think that was, I think they were still Sony back then, Sony Online Entertainment, where it was a case of they just needed something to suck time away from players, and that was it, because they couldn't think of anything else, or they didn't care enough to really bring up a better system. They're just throw it in as a time sink, go. You know.
What about now? Let's get back.
And it is very similar. It is very similar to the Eve system. Yes.
Let's talk about, you know, you've obtained this spell. What about basically adding a level system, as it's been said, you know, or a status system, you know, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. What about you having to go back to your trainer or whatnot to learn about the updated version of that spell, go through a series of events, etc., to upgrade that spell, rather than going to a crafter to make it the next biggest thing?
Well, the problem, like with EverQuest 2 systems, where it was like, you know, at level 1 you get slashed, and then at level 13 you get slash 2. The problem I had with that is your abilities should technically scale with you. So there's no need to have all this fluff like bling. Oh, look at all this fancy smancy stuff you got for free.
No,
but here's the thing. Slash is always slash. If I'm upgrading it, it should change. It should not be something different, because I'm technically learning how to do something different, but it's similar. That's what bugged me. Like, I really enjoyed how Elder Scrolls Online morphed their skills. They basically took it to almost a kindergarten-ish level and never really expanded to its full potential. If they added multiple stages of morphing, you know, where you could kind of split it off to do different things, that would be fantastic. I would constantly go back every level to my trainer just to see if it's like, oh, you know, now you have slash. Sorry, I just slapped my mic. You have slash, but now you can do a slash that stuns versus a slash that bleeds or something. You know, it's like, okay.
That's what I was trying to get at, basically. You're not going to go then get the next tier. What you would do is he would offer you 2 paths to go down. You know, you could now add to this slash a stun, or you know, you could add a DOT over time, a damage over time spell to it. Something like that. It's basically, it stays slash, but now you can upgrade slash with this, that, and the other.
Yeah, it's just like saying, like, I'm going to teach you, like, I taught you how to swing your sword, that's your slash. Now I'm going to teach you how to flick your wrist so that when you actually cut into them, it causes a damage over time. So now I'm just teaching you something more on top of your original skill.
Yeah.
You're not teaching me the same skill. You know, you're teaching me something to make my skill better.
Yep. Because, you know, it is...
It's boring to just go slash 1, slash 2, slash 3.
It's, you know, I didn't really want to use that word, but it has gotten boring, because you know exactly every expansion, you're going to update your
5, 6, 7, 8
spells,
core abilities,
and then that's it. Boom. You know,
you might get 1 or 2 new ones.
Yeah, and then that's it. You're done. What about the AA system? Mixing into the spells.
AA or talent trees, I think, are good alternatives, assuming that they put the time in to do it correctly. Granted, you've seen stuff like World of Warcraft constantly redoing the trees, because the first time around they just kind of stick it in there. And then they have to go back and change it and change it and change it and change it. You know, which gets very, very, very annoying. Because it feels like your character is just on a whiteboard. You know, you're just constantly erasing them, making them again. And I hear you, Moko, like you don't want to visit every level, but it was just an over-exaggeration on my part. I'm just saying I wouldn't mind going back to my trainer every 10 levels or whatever.
Make it something like, you know, it's not a necessity. You don't need to do it. You can, You know,
Yeah,
you're in a
it's
dungeon.
not
You go through
it's
the
not
dungeon.
vital.
Yeah, it's not something vital. It offers you variance to your class that you are playing. It makes you be maybe a little different than Lexa being the same class or myself. It's something that you can add as an addition to yourself to make yourself a bit more unique, but it doesn't hold any necessity. You have to have this addition to it to be able to play your character
Right.
to the fullest and to the max. It's something
Hmm.
that could, you could wander back into town after a couple of days to that trainer, and he says, "Oh, by the way, would you like to learn how to do this to your slashing spell?" And then you
And I
go
mean,
through it.
they can even add that as a quest, like go see this sword monk or whatever somewhere up in the hills. But I mean, Moko, I'm right there with you, my friend. I mean, I had an exuberant amount of AAs on my Necro and my Shadow Knight, and it got to the point where I was just sick and tired of it. The important thing is to keep things simple. Even like when you're expanding upon it, you have to keep it simple. You can't just throw 55,000 different things on the screen and not expect people to look at it and go, "Really? Are you serious?" It's a big balancing game. We don't want to be the same as the guy standing next to us who is the same race, the same class, wearing the same gear. We want to have some differences so that we're unique to a certain point, but we don't want to be so unique that technically he can be more effective than me because of his changes. It's just little things that you add up. Like you can craft specific graphic onto your gauntlets. You can maybe add spikes to your shield. You can get your stun ability that also has a damage over time or a heal over time to yourself. But it doesn't have to be major. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I slam him and I'm invincible for 30 seconds. It could be just, I slam, instead of stunning him like this guy, it heals me for a little bit. And you feel different while still being technically the same.
I mean, that's another thing I would like to get into at one point as well, is the AA system, and talk a bit about alternatives towards that. Because as you know, we've been, I'm very much in support of each character having slight variance towards each other, each class being slightly different towards the next of kin. The cleric 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5 are slightly varied, but they, and it gives a individuality, a flair to it. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that cleric 5 is completely useless because he's gone down path E,
Right.
whereas clerics 1, 2, and 3 have similar powers, so you're gonna favour those three. No, each adding a little bit of a twist to each character makes it really unique, and that's what I'm kind of looking for, is uniqueness within the characters, because that's what the game developers always talk about. Each character, or each class, each race is unique. Then let it truly be unique by adding a bit of flair to it, adding a twist to how you can, choose different powers of your spells. Because I'm sure we're in agreement here, we don't want to see a system where
you get a build of the month.
You get the build of the month, or build of the week, build of the year, or whatnot, because that's the path you have to go down to be the most effective healer or the most effective tank. Let people truly fiddle about a bit, and no matter what they choose, it fits, it works. Obviously, you have to take into account that certain things are going to have a disadvantage towards going down this path. Obviously, yeah, that's the case. There will always be something that's going to have always has to have its pros and cons, but it shouldn't make you less effective or less useful within a group.
Yep.
The group has to adapt.
It's like a heal is a heal is a heal. Okay, maybe this heal gives you a little damage over time after it ends. Not very much, but a little bit. It can be considered more efficient or more effective. Or you get this other one that, if it overheals, it splashes over to anyone around him a little bit. Or you get one that adds a damage shield. I mean, as long as they're healing for overall the same amount, give or take a little percentage, I mean, it's still the same thing. You're still healing for a minimum amount of whatever. you're just adding a little extra flavor to that based upon your choices. And that's what makes your character feel like your character, not just what you picked off the internet.
Yeah. So let's go. I think we've. Let's go and have a look, see if anything. Let's go and see what some people have said in the forums. So Mink said a combination of vendor research and mob drops, the way it was done in EQ, worked well in my opinion. The higher level you get, the more of a challenge to complete your book. Then Calum says, merchant for basic spells, out in the world for more elite spells, bosses for the best spells. I kind of enjoyed scribing my own spells in my spell book on the page that I wanted it to be scribed on. Helped with organisation, but I can understand if that's a bit outdated. Crafted spells were good, but the pain of losing mats if your crafting skill wasn't high enough was just too much for just a few more damage points. Crafters would charge an arm and a leg if you weren't gilded for them as well. Beefcake says lower tiers merchants, middle tiers crafted, higher tiers crafted from rare drops or dropped themselves. Wobbles, earlier ones merchant, let's face it, the low levels you got more to worry about. Higher max drops of certain mobs. Please no RBG off the entire world. They will be sold for a ton of it if it's RBG. Shuckleight says, I'd prefer a combination of vendor purchased, research or otherwise crafted drops and quests. I definitely miss being able to buy spell scrolls and carry them around rather than just having a list of them to learn when I click on a trainer. I'm not a fan of automatically learning things either. I'm also hoping to see more quests to learn spells than we've seen in other games. I don't mean something where you are given a clickable and told to go use it on 10 mobs, and once you've done that, you get the permanent spell. Meaningful quests, please. And the last one we're going to read off, and then we'll move on, is Silshale. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. It's never made sense for me for divine spells to be mob looted or research. They are granted by deities, not scholarly notes and formulae. I could see having to faction up within your faith, though, perhaps to unlock higher level deity-specific spells. Arcane magic being found as spell drops from mobs makes far more sense to me depending on the mob type. Research crafting makes sense as you trial and error your way through scraps of notes and formulae from those who've tried it in the past. On that note, I've always found it...
I just had a thought.
Hold that thought real quick while I just finish this sentence. On that note, I've always found it kind of lame in EQ that Necro and SK had to choose a deity, I'm guessing he wanted to say instead of dirty, when they used arcane magic. It was more of a forced faction mechanic than a sensible story bit there. Right, so now your thought.
So, what if there were almost like these research power-ups like that dropped? Or were just like in a boss's room, like say arcane pages laying around, say like a lich's den. As a mage, I could get those pages and I could basically consume them to up this research bar. When it gets to max, I have a chance of gaining another or a new spell that I don't have, or something along that lines, or maybe a way to modify my spells.
That's actually a pretty cool idea. To actually add to that, imagine you're in a zone, a dungeon or whatnot, and you're at the boss fight, and now you've cleared the room, you cleared the boss, etc. Events start to happen inside that room. You know, lightning bolts come shooting down and it's starting to fall apart. And a mage might get a perception saying, hey, there's something arcanic here. You can basically obtain harness this power. Maybe something like that. Add events that could happen in dungeons where certain classes can harness off of that or learn from that. And, you know, if you leave now, you've just lost the chance to maybe gain this ability, this spell.
The tricky part would be the rate at which you do it, because, I mean, a good group could just go in and farm dungeon after dungeon after dungeon, and then kind of make that whole system a joke.
Well, make it rare, make it very, you know, it's a once in a lifetime thing kind of thing. Like, you know, you have a such and such percentage chance that this is actually going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be a rare event in your character's lifetime where it's like, oh my god, like I just got chain lightning, you know, versus your regular just lightning bolt, where it'll actually skip to other characters. It's like, oh my god, I mean, if I was a mage, I would be bragging in general chat, in world chat, or out of character chat. I would be bragging like you wouldn't believe, especially if it's a world first. Be like, oh my god! And can you imagine the envy of the higher level characters going, this level 20 guy found this. I'm level 43, and I have lightning. What the hell? You know? But then who's to say, 2 or 3 days down the road, they don't get like, meteor shower.
Yep, exactly. So,
it would take a lot of.
Oh, okay. Lex, calm down.
Sorry.
I'm getting excited.
Not used to have my mic. Not used to have my mic out again.
So
the biggest difficulty I think would be balancing the rate at which you learn, so that it's not few and far between, and what you would exactly gain, so that it wouldn't be too like rolling the dice RNG overpower you kind of thing. Yeah.
So let's go move on now to the latest screenshots, and there are a few. We'll start off with these two here that are on screen right now. These were posted on John Diaspara Montros's Facebook. It's part of the female warrior texturing. So if you guys haven't seen these yet, go to Facebook to John Diaspara's page, and you can see these two screenshots of the modeling details for texturing the female warrior within Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And I like it. I like the way they're looking. You don't see the chest
Thank God
that much.
Thank God there is no like freaking plate heavy metal bikini. Thank you. For the love of God, thank you. I can actually get immersed in this world thinking that this woman is a warrior, someone to be feared, not just, oh my God, they're bouncing.
Yes, indeed. So those are the first two shots that we have. And then, from January's newsletter, we have these 4 images from within Amber Fate. That's all on the screen at once. So those are the screenshots. I'll leave them on the screen for a bit while we talk about how great this looks. And if you look at the shot from the the top left with the Archaea and the gnome, you can see the size difference. I mean, that Archaea is huge. Yes, I'm not going to go and point out.
I thought you were going to point that out.
I'll leave that to you, Lex, if you want to point it out. Something funny that Lex actually picked up on about the Archaea character. If you want to go and quickly jump into it, something funny for a chat. Yeah,
look at the Archaea's back. He's got an arrow pointing up. My first thought is that he should have a tattoo that says "Fragile, this end up."
And the second picture on the right, top right, is very intriguing and looks very dangerous. Wander through there, go through that passage, and look out, you're going to get beat up. It looks kind of scary. And then you see that golem with the collar around its neck where they were engaging.
I'm sure someone knows his name. I forget it again.
Yeah, I forgot as well.
So and so was Construct or something.
Yeah, somebody in chat, please tell us what this mob was called again. And then the bottom right is basically Brad's favourite screenshot. And with that screenshot, we actually tweeted out to Brad asking him if he would share the Scar model. But unlucky.
He wants to. Yeah, he wants to feed on my tears.
Yep, he would rather see Alexa cry. So those are the screenshots, and then we're going to go into other news. And obviously other news relates to what's coming up on our shows. This Thursday's show is a general crafting discussion. So join us this Thursday to talk a bit more about crafting in general, some of the ideas, etc. That's this Thursday on this channel. And then we have an ongoing contest still going, Scarface. As you guys know, we hope to see some Scar designed to look a bit more like Lexa, because it's very tricky actually to add facial hair to this character. That's why we came up with this idea. Give a Scar a beard and whatnot, and
or something resembling a beard.
Something resembling a beard. and just be creative, have fun doing it, and you have a chance to win a Watcher's Pledge that you can either give away if you're already pledged, or join the community if you're not. Excuse me, it's your access into the Pantheon community right there. And then we have planned out our calendar until the end of March. So there's going to be a lot of we've decided to change up a bit how we approach our streams. Thursdays will be staying, but the news show will be every second Tuesday of the month, or every second and fourth Tuesday of the month roughly. So every 2 weeks we will do a Tavern talk to gather more news, because it is becoming harder, obviously, with VR, focusing on getting the game where they need it to be, etc., to present a decent news show. So we decided to go with that every 2 weeks and cover the news rather than week in, week out, and to free us up some time as well to bring more quality shows on Thursdays. And starting March, we will go more into the mechanics of the game. So a general discussion on, faction alone, or a general discussion on guilds, a discussion on starting cities, dungeons, quests and perception system. And then we have our 1 year special show, 1 year anniversary, with some guests. And then we'll talk a bit about the weather and environment. If you guys out there in chat have some thoughts on shows that you would like us to see, cover, etc., on specific mechanics, put it up on Discord, Twitter, send us an email, etc.
Whatever.
And we'll see that we can get that planned. So we can go on.
Contact Zathras.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with anything.
Yeah, contact Zathras. Him being our moderator for the Twitch show. Talk to him. Send it on his way.
Buddy.
It's all you, mate.
Enjoy your job. You're welcome.
So we'll see you all on Thursday, same time, same channel, for a discussion on crafting. If you have any thoughts before we go into the show, the latest would be Wednesday, where I would need the information on stuff to talk about, or you would like us to talk or pick up on. Like Lex already said, Discord, Twitter, email us, etc. Some of the things that you would like us to talk, or actually, talk to Zathras and send. It's a
valid way.
Send him, your ideas, what you would like us to touch on and talk about in crafting, and we will do that.
Yep, and I won't be here this Thursday. A lot of you guys know I'm in the process of moving, so things are a little busy. But since I won't be here, I hope you guys have a fun show, because it's a really good topic. Get your ideas out there. I know some people have some really unique ones. Last time we had a general crafting discussion, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend as well.
Yeah, have a great weekend then, guys. When it's time. And Lex, we'll see you when everything's calmed down.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yep. So with that, guys, have a great rest of the evening, rest of the night, whatever time it is for you, and we'll see you all on Thursday. Take care.
Thank you.